I'll do it later. Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to AM Language, another live lesson. I hope everyone is doing well. It's a hot day today. It certainly is quite warm. And it's of course sunny. To be honest with you, at the moment, I have to wait till about 7 o'clock now to do exercise because it's just too hot to do exercise at any other time in the day. I think anyway. So I hope everyone is doing well. And let me know who's watching. So Yana, hi Yana. Georgia, hi Georgia. Alejandra, hello Alejandra. Thank you very much for joining today's lesson. Let me know, how's your week been? How are you guys doing? Leondina, hi. Hello, Leondina. Welcome to today's lesson. And you too, Jorge. Good afternoon. Okay, I'm just sharing today's lesson so more people can join. Evelina, good afternoon, Evelina. I hope you're doing well. Okay, so, right. Hopefully we'll have a few more people joining us, so we can begin. Today's topic is going to be speaking skills. So we're going to look at how you guys can improve your speaking skills. In this lesson, we'll look at a little bit of pronunciation, phrases to help you while you'll try to think, and how you can go about taking risks when speaking. So a really important part of learning a language is to take risks when you speak, not to worry about making a mistake. It's very common that people, they might be able to write quite well, they'll be able to read, they'll be able to listen, but when it comes to speaking, they find they can't get the words out. So if you are one of these people that sometimes really struggle to find the words that you're looking for, don't worry. This is a really common. This is really common amongst anyone learning a language. To be honest, sometimes it can be frustrating as well. It can be frustrating. So yeah, I mean, this is one of the cases. Let me know in the live chat section, by the way, if you are one of these guys, if you are one of these students who sometimes struggles to find the words you're looking for. Now, there are also some tricks that you can learn as well. If your first language is a Latin-based language and you're looking for an adjective, for example, chances are you can think of an adjective in your first language which is going to be very similar in English. The only thing we need to think of is it a false friend? Because sometimes you've got two words, you've got a word in, let's say, Spanish and a word in English. It's the same origin of the word, but the meaning is used, the word is used differently, and therefore the meaning is different as well. So we do have to be careful of false friends. Sandra says hi. Hi, Sandra. Thank you very much for joining. Okay. If, by the way, during this lesson, you guys think of any words that you are not sure about in terms of pronunciation, let me know, and I'll have a look at that with you, and I can help you with your pronunciation. Okay, so let's begin. So first of all, let's tackle. I tell you what, let's go in and let's tackle the problem of what to do when you cannot find the word you are looking for. Okay, and how can you get over that? How can you develop this in your own time? Okay, the way to look at it, Sandra says, sometimes I looked for so easy words that is a little frustrating. Okay, I see what you mean there, Sandra. So let's have a little look. How can we go about it? A really good way to build your language is actually you start off simply and you gradually make it more and more complicated. Okay. So the question is, how many synonyms, for instance, do you know for a word? So we're going to play a little game now. How many synonyms do you know for a word? Okay. I'm going to give you a context and we'll see how many synonyms we can think of. Okay. Um, this past week, we were looking at irregular verbs as well. So I'm going to go with the past. Okay. Okay. I got better at tennis. The word I want you to think about is got. We need to think of as many synonyms as possible for the word got in this context. The reason being is that get is the simplest of words. Therefore, we want to try and move away from get to start using other words. This is the first trick. Build your synonyms. Build the number of synonyms you can. Okay, the more synonyms you know, the easier it is in the future whereby you can find the word you are looking for. Okay, because that's the first stump, that's the first difficulty. Okay, finding the word you are looking for. And for this, we need to understand our synonyms. So this is a simple sentence. I got better at tennis. Can we think of synonyms? The more synonyms we know, the better. And at the end of this, let's see if we can end up with maybe 3, 4, maybe 5. Can we get to 5 different synonyms? In which case, you guys will be teaching each other in the live chat section. So, Gabrielle, well done. You've come in straight away with Gabrielle saying, I improved at tennis. Good, well done. Jorge comes in with, I became better at tennis. Good. Georgia says, I excelled in tennis. Slightly different meaning, but nonetheless, I'll related, yes, not an exact synonym, but nonetheless, we can give you a pass on that one. Alejandra, I advanced at tennis. In some contexts, yes, that would make sense. Good. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 synonyms already. Can anyone give me another synonym? Leondina. Okay, let's see. What have you come in with? You have come. Oh, right. Okay. Um, ameliorate. Okay, ameliorated. Ameliorated. I ameliorated at tennis. Yeah. Um, okay. The word does mean to improve at something, or but it's wrong context. So I will make a note of that, Leondina. Ameliorated is a word that we would use to improve, for example, or to make less severe, but it's more to do with a problem, not necessarily a skill. So we'll come back to that one later because it's an interesting one to look at. Sandra says, I stepped forward at tennis. Not quite, no. I mean, put it this way, it's an option there whereby I know exactly what you mean, Sandra, but not, no, we wouldn't use I step forward. I'll tell you what, though, I think you might have translated that from your first language. If you have, we have a very similar word, which would be a phrase, which is I made strides in, I made, let's say, let's go to this. I made strides in improving at something. So I made strides. A stride is a step, okay, a footstep. So I made strides in my development, for example. You could say that, or you could say I made progress I made progress in tennis, for example. You make progress in, the preposition changes with that. Irina, I achieved better at tennis. There you would say I achieved a better result in tennis. Usually with achieve, we need to link it with like a result. I achieved an outcome. This is the thing, okay? When you use, if you use the word achieve, you need to include the outcome. So I achieved a higher score in tennis. I achieved a better result in chess, for example. If you use the word achieve, you need to include the result, the outcome. Jorge says, I made me better at tennis. Close. I made myself better at tennis. Evolved. Yes, I evolved better at tennis. I think that we need the game. So I evolved my tennis game. That's what we would probably say. So we can see how here, just with the word get, we thought of loads and loads of synonyms, but we can see here that if we choose to use a slightly different word, maybe we need to kind of change the different aspects of the different words around it. Irina asks about boosted. Is this a good synonym for this? Potentially. But we have to think of the context. Again, I think here with boosted, I can't just say I boosted myself at tennis, because that's not going to say the exact same thing. Again, boosted what? It's a bit like achieved. I need the result, exactly. I need a specific. So I boosted my confidence when playing tennis, for example. So there we need a context of the result. I boosted my score, for example. That's another option. So we have to think of the context there. But already, guys, I mentioned one simple word, get. And you guys were off. I'm sure that in the live chat section here, if some of you go through, you would probably learn some new words. Okay. Now, Leondina, you used the word ameliorated. Now, let's look at this. Alejandra, progressed. Yes, I progressed in tennis. I made progress in tennis, actually. Made progress is probably what we're going to go with, okay? There, Alejandra, made progress, okay? Now, let's change the sentence, okay? Again, I'm going to use the word get, but we're going to change the context. I'm thinking along the lines of what Leondina used, okay? Ameliorated. So, okay, the situation got better. Now, I would like you guys to think of synonyms of got in this situation. Some of the words we've already used. If you're going to use a word like ameliorate, then I'm going to ask you to try and make it into a passive. Okay, so if you want it to remain in an active sentence, you can. If you want to have a go at trying to make it into a passive, then do so. Have a go. You can have an attempt at doing that. Let's see what you guys end up saying. It can be a little bit difficult, this one, but we'll see. And we'll see where this takes us. And then we'll move on to the next thing that can help you. Okay. We'll see what you guys end up saying. I mean, if you say the situation got better, you could easily start to try and turn it into a passive, for example. So Sandra says the situation became better. Good. That's a good start. Paolo says the situation. If you're going with the present, actually, oh, sorry, I misread that. Yeah, guys, if you're going to use it in the present, then it has to be becomes. Became in the past, but in the present, you're going to have to add the S, okay? So becomes. But yes, that's a good start. Alejandro says the situation will be better. That would be in the future. And yes, you can do that if you're going to talk about the future. Okay, let's see what else you guys come out with. If you're trying to think of how you could make a passive, don't use become, because you're not going to be able to use become in the passive in this sentence. But let's take the word ameliorated, for example. Okay, you could say the situation was ameliorated, for example. You could use it in that sense. The situation will improve. Yes, again, yoga, that's good. That makes sense. Or best? No, you're going to have to use a comparative of some kind rather than best. I like your thinking though, Alejandra. Yana says the situation has changed. Oh, you're so close. You're so close, Yana. You're 90% there. Has changed for the better. You're just missing the preposition and the articles. Changed for the better. And that's a very typical word collocation. Has changed for the better. It's got better. It has improved. Good. So we're off to a really good start here. Well done, guys. So that's the first trick. Build your synonyms. That is one way that you can constantly develop the range of vocabulary you need when trying to look for a word. Now, number two, what's the other thing we need to do? The opposite. We need to develop our vocabulary to develop our antonyms. Antonyms are the opposite to synonyms. Okay, so let's go with, for example, the milk doesn't taste good. Okay, again, we're going in with a nice, simple sentence. The milk doesn't taste good. Now we need to think of the different ways that we can write or speak, should I say, make a sentence where we're trying to explain that the milk doesn't taste good. Let's see what you guys come out with. If you want to use, this is very general. I haven't said why the milk doesn't taste good. So you do have some creative room in this. Actually, wait a minute. I just realized I was talking about antonyms. So we're thinking of antonyms of, we're still going to keep the meaning that something's not good, okay? But we need to think of the antonym of the adjective good. So the obvious adjective would be bad. So if you wanted to start off, you could say the milk tastes bad, for example. I mean, that would be the easiest direct, opposite, good, bad. Okay, so we know bad is the opposite of good, but let's see the taste of milk isn't good. The taste of the milk isn't good. Okay, that's fine. The milk is damaged. No. If it's the carton, if it's what the milk comes in, yes, but liquid can't be damaged. There's a different word, and if no one thinks of it, I'll put in the word, okay? The milk's tasty isn't good. The milk's taste. Very close, okay, Alejandra? The milk, okay, the milk's, yeah, okay, so the milk's taste isn't good, okay? Liana says the milk tastes awful. Good, yeah. Awful is a very good antonym is a very good antonym of good. It's the opposite. Georgia says the milk has expired. Yes, that's another very good one. Okay, good. So I think we've understood this. Now I would like you to change the sentence. Now we're going to take the antonym approach and change the whole sentence. So I'm going to write a positive sentence, and I want you guys to try and make this a negative sentence, okay? The flight was good. Okay, again, a very simple sentence. The flight was good. You guys now need to tell me the opposite. You need to give me antonyms of good in this context. Let's see what you guys create. Okay? Obviously, you could go with bad, but try and don't use bad. Think of another word instead of bad, okay? Again, it's important. We're building synonyms, and then you need to build up the antonyms. This way, this is really good to build up your vocabulary so you can find the word you are looking for, because that's one of the hard things to begin with, knowing what word you need to use. Okay. The flight was terrible. Yes, good start, Leondina. The flight was terrible. Good, that's a good start. Diana says the flight was boring. Yep, that's fine. Georgia says the flight was not pleasant. Very good. Well done. Let's see whatever other people come out with. This is good stuff, guys. Your guys are, if you read through this live chat section, guys, you can see that students are, at this point, you are all helping each other because you are sharing your vocabulary with one another. Alejandro says the flight wasn't bad. If you say the flight wasn't bad, you're saying it's good, Alejandro. Careful there. Alejandro, if the flight wasn't bad, if the flight wasn't bad, then you're probably saying the flight was good. So it's no longer the opposite. Gabrielle says the flight was stressful. Yes. Sandra says the flight was uncomfortable. Good. Paolo says the flight was horrible. Brilliant. Okay. Lots of really good ones. Okay. Let's change the topic here. Okay. Let's change the topic. And what I would like you guys to now do is we're now going to experiment with the grammar side of things and the different types of words you can use. So we're going to focus on trying to explain an experience. Okay, what was it like? So let's say we're talking about a film, and I'd simply want to say, again, I want to say something like, the film was boring. Okay, so we're now going in with a nice simple sentence. The film was boring. We now need to think of synonyms of boring. Let's see what you guys come out with. This is harder than just looking at opposites of good, really. So, or the similar words to good. So here, I don't want you to change the meaning. We're still going to stick in the negative, but can you guys think of synonyms for boring and trying to explain an experience of what it's like to watch certain films? I'm going to give you an example. So listen out for some of the words I use, okay? I'm going to talk about a particular film. The film is called The Dead Poet Society. To be honest with you, it is a boring film, but it's not just boring. It's extremely dull. It's very slow moving. I can't say I didn't think any of the characters were exciting. I didn't think the storyline was engaging, and I found it tiresome to watch. Let's see what you guys come out with. So, Gabrielle, the film was annoying. Potentially, yes. LVS.com says the film wasn't interesting. You need to go with the adjective, in this case, interesting. If you say the film wasn't interested, now it's not the right form of interest that you're looking for. You're looking for interesting, okay? Jorge says the film was lousy. Potentially. Alejandro says scary movie is really Oh, boring, boring. Okay, you need boring film. Yana says the film was dull. Yes. Georgia says the film was tedious. Yes, these are good words. Other words I would use. Okay, the film was. What words did I use actually? Um, yes, here we go. The film was dreadfully dull. So you could use dreadfully to mean really, and it's a negative one. I did enjoy the film. Yes, Yoga, you could say that. You could say the let's say we want to talk about a specific aspect of the film. So the plot or the storyline, let's say. The storyline was tiresome, for example. Now, tiresome. If if something is tiresome, it means it makes you tired. If something is tiresome, it makes you tired, and you want to sleep. So those are some other synonyms you can use. The film was flat. Yeah, you could. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, the song was flat. The film was flat. It wasn't interesting. It was dull. Um, I mean, look, you can also sort of yes. There's quite a few things you could use actually. The film was. You could say like another word for tiring to watch is film. Let's say the plot. Okay, so the plot, storyline, plot. Okay, the film was slow moving. For example, it was a slow moving film. Good, excellent, guys. You're off to a good start. We're now getting. We're looking pretty good here at the moment. Okay, next bit, grammar. You want to try and say something, but you're not sure how to say it. Well, it's important to know what you want to say in the simplest sense. So let's say you are wanting to use a conditional, okay? And you want to say, for instance, um, if if I um, let's say you want to say something like if I okay resided, which is another word for lived in another country, I would definitely, let's go with something strong like that. I would definitely consider, meaning think of, definitely consider living in Malta. Okay, let's say that is at a complex level. That is what you want to say. You have some potential new words here, such as reside, which is live, such as to reside in a place means to live in a place. And you've also got consider. To consider this means to think of this. So we're using a little bit more complicated language. But let's say you don't know how to make this sentence. You don't know how to make your second conditional. You might not even know of the words you want to use. Maybe you have learnt them in the past and forgotten. This is the rule. You start off simple and then you slowly think of how you can make it more complicated over time. Because in simple English, how can I say this? In fact, we're going to do this. I'm going to give you an example of how to make a complicated sentence simple. And then I'm going to give you guys the opportunity. Can you make something simpler? It does mean that we need to think of synonyms again. So let's say on a simple level, I want to say, um, I don't live in I don't live in Malta. But if I lived in another country, Malta would be nice. Okay, that's what you're saying on a simple level. So on the complicated level, you are saying if I resided in another country, I would definitely consider living in Malta. Simply, you're saying I don't live in Malta, but if I lived in another country, Malta would be nice. That's what you're saying. Okay. The important thing that we do need to think about is our modal verb. We can't do anything about that. We need to make sure we still get our modal verb right. So I'm now going to write another conditional. It will be a little bit complicated in terms of the words. Think about what I'm trying to say, and then let's see if you guys can make the sentence sound simpler. If you want, you can break it up into smaller sentences, just like I did as well. We're thinking in terms of speaking and how you might speak as well. So if your sentence doesn't make complete, accurate sentence, that's fine. The idea is communication at this point. So if I okay, guys. So we've got this. If I ventured to another country to work, I would imagine the US would be a possibility. The most difficult word that you might find in this sentence is the word venture, and it simply means go. Okay? Venture simply means to go, or if I went to another country, for example. That's what it is on a simple level. So let's see what you guys think, okay? Can you guys make this into a simpler sentence, or break it down into 2 or 3 sentences and make it simpler? The reason behind this is this: if you can make something complicated simple, it means you can explain yourself. So at this stage, we're not going to be too worried about the grammatical accuracy of absolutely everything in a sentence. What we want to look at is communication. Can we explain what we want to explain? We want to try and explain something that might be a little bit difficult. We've got gaps in our knowledge, but do we know how to say it in simple English? Because that is another thing. If you don't know what to say because of the grammar, can you go back to basics? Can you go back to the simple form of English and still try and tell people what you want to tell them with a meaning that they can understand and that you understand is the meaning you want to tell them as well, want to show? So this is a really good exercise to do. And I would recommend, when you learn new grammar points, see if you can take the grammar and make it simpler and simpler and simpler. If you can tell someone something, if you can make something simple, it means you've really understood that that bit of language, really. Gabrielle says, if I went to another country to work, I would think that the US, we just need the article the US would be a good option. Gabrielle, well done. Like the video for Gabrielle, because this is a really good example. This is off to a good start. She took venture, made it simple to if I went to another country to work, I would think that is a good replacement to the word imagine. That you just need the article that the US would be a good option. Simple English, good, an option. Well done, Gabrielle. Good stuff. LVS.com says, if I was 20 years old, I would study. I would study. I would study. That's all you're missing there. It doesn't have quite the same meaning as what we're going for, but in terms of the grammar, yes, you just need I would study. Okay. You need the infinitive form when you use a modal verb. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to say I would carried, I would studied. No, don't forget would plus infinitive form of the verb. Okay, that doesn't really change, to be honest. Okay, guys, good. Let's see if anyone else can come out with another example of trying to make a complicated sentence simpler. Okay, it's good practice, because it means that when you are speaking, if you know how to make something a little bit complicated simple, it means that you are going to be understood. And that's the point of this. Not so much making sure we get the grammar absolutely spot on. I mean, if we take an example here, would studied medicine, I completely understand what LVS.com is saying. So in terms of completing the task, in terms of creating a sentence that I can understand, yes. Okay, we need study instead of studied, but I understood what she was trying to say. And at this point, with this kind of exercise, that's what I'm looking for you guys to do. Can you still explain yourself? We might make mistakes, but that's fine. Irina says, if I risked to move in another country for work, I think it would be the US. Okay, in terms of meaning, Irana, yes, I completely understand what you mean. So in terms of that, good. And from there, we can say, right, even if you don't know how to get things grammatically correct, you can still make yourself understood. So if I look at this example, Irina, okay, there are one or two slight mistakes, but I understand what you mean. I can see what type of grammar you've tried to go for, and I still understand what you mean. So if we were having a conversation in a bar, for example, and you said this, I know what you mean. I can continue the conversation with you, and you can continue the conversation because we have understood. And this is an important, guys. Sometimes you're not going to get the grammar right. Okay, you're not going to get your verb linkage correct. That's fine when trying to just communicate, because if you get the communication right, the rest comes later. Okay, it's really important that communication is more important learning a language at times than just getting everything absolutely right in terms of trying to improve your fluency. And this is the thing with speaking. If you want to improve your speaking, you're going to have to make mistakes. And then if you're with someone like me, a teacher, then the teacher has to decide if, yes, I'll correct it, or sometimes, no, I'm not going for accuracy, I'm going for fluency, I'm going for meaning over making sure it's grammatically absolutely correct. Okay. Leondina says, I could go to another country to work and US would be a good opportunity. Again, I can understand what you mean. It's not identical to the sentence that I had written in terms of meaning. There's a slight difference because of opportunity instead of option, I would say. But at the same time, I would say it's about 95% similar in terms of meaning. So Leondina, again, are there one or two things I could point out? Yes, such as the US. I would say the US because that is an important distinction. But everything else, really well done. So Leondina, well done. Gabrielle says, if I try to go to another country to work, I would consider live in the US. Okay, this is another example. Grammatically, I would say you're 90% there. There's just one little error. But does that mistake mean I can't understand what you're telling me? Not at all. I fully understand what you're telling me. So you've achieved the task. We've achieved fluency and communication. So well done. Just one thing, consider, I would consider living. Okay, and this is something worth remembering. I would consider living. I would think of going to. Okay, this is a common thing in English. You've got your modal verb, you've then got another verb. So if you've got modal verb, the next verb needs to be ing. So you've got, let's say, would plus verb plus verb ing. This is a common pattern in English. But like I said, that's not my main focus. I'm focusing on your ability, your fluency, your ability to communicate. So well done, Gabrielle. Good stuff. Sandra says, if it's necessary to move in another country, I would like to go to Italy. Okay. Again, you're about 90% there in terms of accuracy. There's one or two mistakes, but do I understand what you're saying? Absolutely, Sandra. Good stuff. So well done, Sandra. If you do want to know what your slight mistake is, you just need to think of the verb to be is. You're missing is, for example, in that sentence. But other than that, Sandra, really well done. Good stuff. Paolo says the US could be a good option if I want another country to work. Okay, good. Again, I understand what you're saying. Like the other sentences, yeah, okay, there's one slight mistake that I could point out, which is you need to think of your verb want. But in terms of meaning, I completely understand you. You've taken the risk. I understand. We can have the conversation. Okay, so if this is a speaking conversation, I can continue the conversation with you. So this is good. And this is the idea. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. LVS.com says, if Friday was a person, I would be his best friend. Okay, well, okay, fair enough. I think Friday, if Friday were a person, yeah, we would be friends as well. Friday is a great day of the week. Okay, guys, so this is the important thing. When you are trying to develop your speaking, this is what you need to do. One, when you learn new words, learn of synonyms. Two, learn of the opposites, antonyms. Three, when you're trying to understand new grammar forms and everything, can you make it simpler? When you learn synonyms, can you make it simpler? Work down and then work back up. And in the process, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Making mistakes is good. The more mistakes you make, and the more mistakes you can learn from. So if you are speaking to one another and you're speaking in English, don't worry about making mistakes. Make sure you can communicate. The ability to communicate is, I would argue, when learning a language is sometimes, there's sometimes when grammar is going to, and accuracy is going to be more important. And then there are other times when your ability to communicate fluently is going to be more important. And both need to be developed. So that's what I would say on this one, okay? Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Go for it. Make sentences. Try and explain yourself. Think of synonyms. And if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. Never mind. You will learn from that. But then when you get it right, it's even better. And sometimes when speaking, we can't find the words. But what do we want? We want the other person to understand what we're trying to say. And this is the first step. We just want them to understand us just to begin with. If it's text, if it's speaking, we just want them to understand. And this is how you do it. So when learning a language, follow these three simple things. Learn the synonyms, learn the antonyms. And when you learn new grammar, work your way down from it being complicated down to simple, and then your way back, and then work your way back up. That way, you also will look at synonyms automatically. Okay, guys, thank you so much for today. I think you all did a really good job. So if you have commented in the live chat today, really well done. You've all done a fantastic job. You've all managed to explain to me what you want to explain, which is the point, which was the idea. So you've all done fantastically well. And thanks for the charge of optimism. Okay, well, it's important to be optimistic. It's important to be optimistic when learning a language or learning anything. You need that optimism, or maybe I would say positivity towards it as well. Jorge says, thank you, I enjoyed the class. Good. I'm very happy you enjoyed the class, Jorge. Thank you very much. So guys, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I hope you have a really good weekend. For those of you who are watching who might not have said anything in the live chat, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a really good weekend. For those of you who have participated in the live chat section, thank you very much. You've all done a fantastic job. Give yourselves a pat on the back, okay? The things we've looked at this week are a little bit difficult, and you've all done really well. Evelina, you too, thank you very much, guys. So have a lovely weekend, and I will see you next week at 4 o'clock, Monday to Friday, as always, okay? So next week, I will see you at 4 o'clock on Monday. If there are any specific topics you would like me to look at, just let me know in the comments section, or go onto our Facebook or Instagram page and let us know. You too, Sandra. Have a nice weekend. You as well, Yana. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy. Bye for now.